My brother stole my business idea. While I was hospitalized, so I built a better one in secret, and now he works for me, begging for mercy. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I've always believed that success should be shared with family. Growing up, my younger brother Jason and I were inseparable, the kind of brothers who finished each other's sentences and stayed up all night dreaming about the future. We didn't have much, but we had ambition. From selling lemonade as kids to fixing old gadgets in our garage, we were always building something together. When I graduated with a degree in software engineering, and Jason finished business school, it felt like destiny. I came up with an idea for an app, something that would let homeowners instantly find verified repair professionals, book appointments, and track services in real time. Jason's eyes lit up the first time I pitched it. He said, "Dude, this could be huge. Let's make it happen." Those early days were magic. We worked out of our parents' basement with nothing but coffee, instant noodles, and blind faith. I'd code for hours while Jason handled the branding and investor pitches. The walls were covered in sticky notes and rough sketches of app interfaces. Sometimes we'd fall asleep mid-conversation, exhausted but happy. I can still remember Jason laughing, saying, "One day, this will pay off. We'll look back and laugh about being broke." I really believed him. I believed in us. For the first time, it felt like we were finally building something real, something that could change our lives. Then came the night that changed everything. I was driving home after another 14-hour coding sprint when a truck ran a red light and slammed into my car. I remember the screech of metal, the flash of headlights, and then nothing. When I woke up in a hospital bed days later, groggy and disoriented, the first thing I thought wasn't about the pain. It was about the app, and Jason. Something deep in my gut told me that while I was lying there, the dream we built together might not survive the same way I did. When I came to, the sterile smell of antiseptic filled the air, and the steady beep of a heart monitor reminded me I was still alive. My body ached, but my mind was already somewhere else. Back in our basement office, wondering how far Jason had gotten with the app. The nurse said I'd been unconscious for 2 days, and all I could think was, I need to check my phone. Jason had texted a few times, short messages like, "Hope you're okay, bro," and "Don't worry about work. I've got it covered." At first I was touched. It sounded like he was holding things down for us. But as the days went by, his replies grew colder, shorter, and more delayed. "How's progress on the app?" I asked one night. He replied hours later, "We'll talk when you're out. Just focus on healing." A week later, my cousin sent me a link out of nowhere. "Dude, congrats," he wrote. "Didn't know you guys already launched." Confused, I clicked it, and there it was. Our app, polished and branded, but under a different name. Jason's name. His smiling face filled the homepage with the caption, "Founder and CEO of TaskNex, revolutionizing home repair." My stomach dropped. The same design, same features, even the tagline I wrote. "Fix your world with a tap." Every single thing we built together was there, except for one thing, me. When I called him, my voice shook. "Jason, what the hell is this?" He sighed, calm as ever. "You were in the hospital, man. Investors were ready. I couldn't wait forever. It's still our dream, right?" I felt my chest tighten, the heart monitor next to me quickening. "Our dream? You took everything." There was a long silence. Then he said quietly, "You should rest. Stress isn't good for recovery." And he hung up. I lay there staring at the ceiling, realizing I wasn't healing. I was being replaced. And the worst part, everyone else thought he was the hero. When I got discharged, I still had stitches in my side and a cast on my leg, but I went straight home. Not to rest, but to confront Jason face to face. His car was parked outside my parents' house, shiny and new, something he definitely couldn't afford before. I walked in, leaning on my crutch, and found him at the dining table surrounded by our family. Everyone was laughing, eating, celebrating. For him, Mom's eyes lit up. "Look who's here. Jason's company is already making headlines." "Isn't that amazing?" I froze. My idea, my code. My months of sleepless nights, and they were celebrating him as if I never existed. Jason stood up and patted my shoulder like nothing happened. "Hey, bro, glad you're walking again." His tone was casual, dismissive. I muttered, "You launched without me." He smiled, that same fake grin that used to mean teamwork but now felt like a mask. Someone had to move things forward. "You were out of commission." I turned to my parents, expecting outrage, support, something. Instead, my father said, "Son, Jason's done a remarkable thing. You should be proud of your brother." I wanted to scream. Instead, I just whispered, "He stole it." Jason chuckled. "Steal? You're being dramatic. You gave up when you got hurt." I didn't. The words hit harder than any car crash. Mom's face tightened, uncomfortable, but she didn't say a word. My father just sighed. Enough drama. Jason's leading this family forward. Maybe it's time you find something new to do. That broke something in me. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just walked out, each step burning with humiliation. That night, sitting in the dark of my small apartment, I stared at my old laptop, the one still loaded with the original code, the first sketches, the dream he stole. I made myself a quiet promise. If Jason thought I was out of the game, he was about to learn what rebuilding in silence really looked like. The weeks after that dinner were a blur of anger, insomnia, and late-night coffee. I couldn't shake the image of Jason smiling across that table while my parents clapped for him. Every time I tried to sleep, that smug grin came back. Eventually, I stopped trying. Instead, I opened my laptop and stared at the old code that started everything. I realized something. Jason might have stolen my idea, but he didn't understand the soul of it. He saw profit. I saw potential. So I started from scratch. New framework, new interface, cleaner logic. I worked under a new name, Home Ease. Quietly. No announcements. No social media. Just me, a second-hand laptop, and a list of all the mistakes I'd fix this time. During the day, I took freelance coding jobs to pay rent. At night, I became a ghost, working on Homies till sunrise, learning design, marketing, and data security on my own. The hum of the old fan, the glow of the screen, and the smell of instant noodles became my world again. Some nights, the exhaustion hit so hard I'd stare blankly at the code and whisper, "He doesn't get to win." That sentence kept me alive. I tested everything obsessively. I talked to real users through online forums, learning what Jason's app failed to deliver. I fixed it. Every glitch, every missing feature, every frustration people had with his product, I turned into my advantage, and I told no one. Not my parents. Not mutual friends. Not even old colleagues who'd left Jason's company. My silence became my weapon. By the time 6 months passed, Homies was nearly complete. Sleeker, smarter, and built entirely by my hands. I remember leaning back in my chair one morning, staring at the logo I'd just designed and thinking, he took my dream. I rebuilt it from its ashes, and this time no one was going to see me coming. I was halfway through final testing when I got an unexpected email. The subject line read, "We need to talk about Jason." It was from one of his former employees, a developer I'd interviewed months ago before the accident. Out of curiosity, I replied, and within minutes, he called. His voice trembled as he said, "I quit last week. Jason's company is a mess, man. You need to know what's going on." I leaned back, heart pounding. He told me everything. How Jason overpromised to investors, underpaid his team, and rushed updates that broke the app every other week. "He doesn't even understand the code base," the guy said. "He just blames everyone when things crash." I felt this cold electric rush of realization. Jason wasn't thriving. He was drowning in the very waters he stole from me. Then came the real twist. The developer mentioned Jason was quietly reaching out to outside contractors, trying to hire me. He didn't know I was behind Homies. He said he wants someone who can clean up the mess his brother left behind. The irony almost made me laugh. That night, I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through social media, and sure enough, I noticed cracks in Jason's perfect facade. Angry customers complaining about refunds. One-star reviews piling up, investors ghosting him. I clicked on an article. TaskNext faces lawsuit over service fraud. There it was. My brother's empire built on stolen blueprints, starting to collapse. For the first time since the hospital, I smiled. Not out of spite, but relief. Karma was already knocking on his door, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. But then a darker thought crept in. What if I didn't just wait for karma? What if I gave it a little push? I turned to my screen, the homie's dashboard glowing softly in the dark, and whispered to myself, let's finish this. Once I made the decision, something inside me shifted. I stopped working from a place of anger and started working from clarity. If Jason had built his kingdom on stolen foundations, I was about to rise from the ashes, stronger, cleaner, unstoppable. I poured everything into homies, shaping it into what our dream was meant to be before greed tainted it. I spent days perfecting the interface, making it simple enough for a 60-year-old homeowner yet powerful enough to impress investors. I wrote the tagline myself. Trust built in. Every word, every button, every design choice felt personal. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was reclaiming what was rightfully mine. When I finally launched the beta, I didn't make a big announcement. I quietly released it to a small group of testers, local homeowners and repair professionals I'd met online. Within days, the feedback was overwhelming. Smooth. Reliable. Finally, something that actually works. Each message fueled me like oxygen. Homies wasn't just good, it was everything TaskNext pretended to be. The systems ran flawlessly, the reviews were glowing, and word of mouth spread fast. People started posting about this new app that actually delivers. Behind the scenes, I refined the branding, designed a sleek logo, and filed for trademarks, all under my name this time. No partners, no loopholes. I made sure every legal document had my signature etched in ink. One evening, as I checked analytics, I noticed something that made me freeze. A sudden spike in traffic. Jason's clients were migrating to my app, quietly, steadily. I sat back, feeling a calm I hadn't known in years. My stolen dream had finally evolved, reborn into something he couldn't touch. And while Jason's empire began cracking under its own lies, mine was just starting to breathe. For the first time since the accident, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like the storm. You said success came slowly at first, then all at once. Within 3 months, Homies was being mentioned in industry blogs and small business tech forums. I wasn't famous yet, but people were talking. Meanwhile, Jason's company, TaskNext, was hemorrhaging credibility. Every week, a new complaint surfaced. Late payments to contractors, malfunctioning systems, even accusations of fake reviews. Then, one night, I got a text from him. Jason. Hey bro, can we talk? For a few minutes I just stared at it. After all the silence, now he wanted to talk? I typed back a single word. About? Jason. Things have been rough. Maybe we should, start over. You and me, I almost laughed. The arrogance in his tone was gone, replaced by uncertainty, the same kind you hear when someone realizes the ground under them is breaking. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. A few days later, at a family barbecue, he showed up pretending everything was fine. Mom fussed over him while Dad asked me if I'd apologized yet. I bit my tongue and smiled. Jason, though, couldn't hide his nerves. His shirt was wrinkled, eyes sunken, that confident energy gone. Business keeping you busy? I asked casually. He gave a weak laugh. You know how it is. Competition's tough out there. He didn't know I was the competition. Watching him squirm through small talk while pretending he was still winning was almost surreal. Every time someone mentioned that new app Home Ease, I could see him flinch. After the party, he called again. We should team up, he said softly. I think together we could... Jason, I cut him off. You made your choice. There was silence. Then, barely a whisper. You don't understand, man. Everything's falling apart. I hung up before he could finish. Standing by the window that night, watching city lights shimmer in the distance, I felt something unfamiliar. Not pity, not joy, just quiet power. He was starting to drown, and this time, I wasn't throwing him a lifeline. The first punch came out of nowhere. One morning, I woke up to a flood of notifications. Dozens of messages, tags, and emails. Jason had gone public. He posted a long, self-righteous statement online claiming that I had stolen his idea and betrayed family trust. Screenshots, half-truths, and bold lies painted me as the backstabbing brother who tried to destroy his legacy. At first, I laughed bitterly. It was too absurd to take seriously. But as the hours passed, the laughter faded. His post went viral in our local tech community. People I'd worked with for years started messaging. "Man, what's going on? Did you really take Jason's code? You two used to be so close." Investors I'd been negotiating with suddenly went silent. A potential partnership I'd spent months building vanished overnight with a single email. "We've decided to move in a different direction." My company's reputation, one I'd rebuilt from nothing, was collapsing because Jason shouted the loudest. When I finally confronted him on the phone, my hands were shaking. "Why would you do this, Jason?" His voice was flat. "Because you stole my life's work. Now we're even." I wanted to scream the truth, to show every receipt, every line of code. But something in his tone told me this wasn't about business anymore. It was about control. That night, I sat alone in my office, lights off, laptop open to a blank screen. The notifications wouldn't stop. Every ping felt like a nail in my coffin. I'd built everything quietly, carefully, and now it was burning down faster than Jason's lies could spread. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely defeated. But as I sat there in the dark, watching my reflection flicker on the screen, another thought crept in. Quiet, cold, and dangerous. He thinks this is over. He thinks I'll break, and maybe I would've, if I didn't already know what was coming next. 2 days after Jason's smear campaign, I received an anonymous email with the subject, "You might want to see this." Attached were screenshots, internal documents, time-stamped files, and email threads from months before my accident. It was proof. Every design sketch, code snippet, and early project outline had my name on it. The sender, one of Jason's former employees. His message was short. "I've seen enough lies. Time for the truth." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. My hands trembled, not with anger this time, but relief. Finally, something solid. With that evidence, I contacted a journalist who had covered TaskNext's rise. She agreed to meet. Over coffee, I laid it all out. Medical records from my hospitalization, the original code repositories, emails between Jason and me, even old chat logs showing him using my concept while I was in recovery. Her eyes widened halfway through. "You realize," she whispered, "this could ruin him." I didn't smile. "I'm not trying to ruin him," I said quietly. "I just want the truth out there." 2 days later, the article dropped. Whistleblower reveals CEO stole app idea from his hospitalized brother. It exploded. Comment sections lit up. Old employees came forward confirming everything. Investors pulled out. The same people who'd praised Jason now called him a thief. Screenshots of his lies spread like wildfire, while my inbox filled with messages of support. "You deserved better. Glad the truth's out. Justice, finally." Jason went silent online. His company's social media vanished overnight. The empire he'd built on deceit was crumbling, brick by brick in front of the world. I sat in that same chair where months ago I'd sworn revenge, but this time I didn't feel rage, just quiet satisfaction. He'd tried to bury me with lies, but I'd come back with proof, and the world was finally listening. For the first time in years, I felt weightless, like I was breathing real air again. The silence after the storm was almost eerie. For weeks, Jason disappeared completely. No social posts, no calls, nothing. Word spread fast that TaskNext had shut down. Employees quit en masse. Investors filed lawsuits and clients demanded refunds. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from reporters and former TaskNext workers looking for a lifeline. But I didn't respond to any of them. I just kept working. Then, one morning, my assistant forwarded an email with the subject line that made my chest tighten. Subject: Job Application. Jason Miller. For a second, I thought it was a joke, but when I opened it, there it was. His resume. He listed TaskNext, founder, CEO, like it was some proud badge, describing his downfall as company restructuring. At the bottom, a small note. Seeking a role where I can rebuild my career and learn from past mistakes. I just sat there staring at it, a strange mix of disbelief and irony washing over me. My brother, the same man who once told me I wasn't cutthroat enough for success, was now asking me for a job. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I had my HR manager schedule an interview. When Jason walked into my office 2 days later, I could see the shock in his eyes the moment he realized who was sitting behind the CEO desk. He froze, pale, like the air had been sucked out of the room. "You're the owner," he stammered. I nodded, calm. "Welcome to Home Ease, Jason." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the AC and his nervous breathing. I gestured toward the chair across from me. "Please, have a seat." He sat down slowly, eyes wide, shame painted across his face. It was poetic. The brother who'd once stolen my dream now sitting in front of me, asking for a chance to survive in the world I rebuilt. And I wasn't sure yet if I was going to give it to him. Jason sat across from me, fidgeting with his tie like it was choking him. For once, he didn't look confident or smug. He looked small. His eyes darted around the room, probably taking in the glass walls, the team outside, the logo on the wall that read, "Homies, Trust Built In." He swallowed hard. "I didn't know this was your company," he said softly. I leaned back in my chair. "That's funny. You didn't know a lot of things when you stole from me either." He flinched, guilt flashing across his face. "I messed up, okay? I thought I could handle it. I thought I deserved it after all the work I put in." Deserved it? My voice cracked slightly, but I held it steady. "You launched our idea while I was hooked up to a hospital V. You erased my name. You let our parents believe I quit on you." He lowered his head. "I know, and I've paid for it. I lost everything. Money, friends, reputation." His voice broke. "I'm just asking for a chance to work again. To start over." For a long time, I said nothing. I watched him. The brother who once looked unstoppable now begging for mercy. A part of me wanted to throw him out, to let him feel the same humiliation he gave me. But another part remembered our childhood, those long nights building dreams in the basement, believing we'd always have each other's back. So I took a deep breath. "You'll start as a junior project manager," I said finally. "Entry-level pay. No special treatment." He looked stunned. "You're serious?" "I'm not doing this for you," I said quietly. "I'm doing it because holding on to hate costs too much." Jason nodded, tears welling up. "Thank you." As he left the room, I watched his reflection fade in the glass and whispered to myself, "Sometimes mercy is the sharpest blade of all." Months passed, and life finally found a rhythm that felt peaceful. Home Ease had become everything I once dreamed of. Stable, respected, and growing fast. Investors who once ghosted me now begged for meetings. Clients flooded in. My company's name had become synonymous with reliability, and every success story echoed what Jason once said to me. This could be huge. Jason kept his head down, working quietly in a modest cubicle 2 floors below mine. He never complained, never bragged. Some of the younger employees didn't even realize we were brothers. He came in early, stayed late, and barely spoke unless necessary. Watching him move through the office, polite, humble, invisible, felt strange. There were moments I caught him glancing at me through the glass wall of my office, but he'd always look away before I could meet his eyes. One afternoon, after a successful product demo, I stepped out of the boardroom to find him standing by the elevator, holding a stack of reports. "Hey," he said quietly, offering a hesitant smile. "You did good, man. I'm proud of you." For a second, the old Jason, my brother, my friend, flickered in his voice. I just nodded and said, "Thanks." The elevator doors closed between us, and I realized that was the closure I'd been waiting for. Not revenge, not applause, just acknowledgement. That night, as I walked through the quiet office, I stopped by his empty desk. His reports were meticulous, his notes thoughtful. He was trying. Maybe that was enough. I stood by the window, city lights glimmering below, and thought back to the hospital bed where it all began, how one betrayal had nearly destroyed me. But in the end, it hadn't. It had rebuilt me. I whispered to the glass, almost like a prayer. I didn't need to destroy him. I just needed to rise higher, and in that silence, I finally felt free.